We focus heavily on the mechanics of belief. We teach the exact postures of prayer, the specific words of the creed, and the fast. But in this process, we often fail to introduce the believer to the one they are meant to be worshiping. When faith is taught this way, it shrinks into a syllabus, a mechanical checklist of rituals and prescribed motions. It is an inheritance of rules, but it lacks a living connection. This mechanical obedience leaves the heart vulnerable. When life is easy, the believer credits their own effort. When it turns painful, they feel abandoned by a God they never truly knew. Their devotion is tied to their circumstances, not to their Creator. This hollow relationship eventually causes the heart to fade. It opens a door to secret, terrifying doubts that most are too afraid to voice, leaving them trapped between a religion they don't feel and a God they don't understand. These are the questions that whisper in the silence. Why create us at all? Why demand our worship? If God is self-sufficient, why give us the messy, painful gift of free will? Many bury these thoughts, fearing they are signs of a lost soul. But these aren't the questions of disbelief. They are the cries of a heart that yearns for a reason to love the one it was told to fear. To find the answer, we have to look past our own needs. God did not create humanity out of a deficit or a desire for help. He is beyond need. He created solely out of his own will and infinite wisdom, an act of pure divine intent. Understanding this why is the only way to move past mindless routine. It requires us to look back at the original contract we signed before we were even born. Long before our physical birth, every human soul existed in a state of pure recognition. In this assembly, God asked us a single defining question: "Am I not your Lord?" And in that moment, every soul testified to the truth. But the Creator offered a second, far more difficult choice, the amana, or the trust. This was the gift of free will, the heavy responsibility of choosing to obey when one has the power to rebel. The mountains and the earth itself trembled at this burden and refused it, yet humanity stepped forward. We were not forced into this existence. We actively accepted the moral accountability that comes with choice. We agreed to the test of being human. However, choosing to follow God in a world of distractions is impossible if you don't know who He is. You cannot fulfill a trust for a stranger. To survive the burden of choice, we needed to understand the character of the one we promised to serve. This is why God revealed His 99 names. They aren't just titles. They are the specific attributes we must recognize to navigate our lives. If the amana is the burden, these names are the map that makes the weight bearable. The prophets were masters of this knowledge. When they faced absolute disaster, they didn't just pray generally. They invoked the specific attribute of God that met the exact pressure of their trial. When Prophet Noah watched the floodwaters take his son, he didn't appeal to mercy because the decree of judgment had already passed. Instead, he called upon Al-Hakam, the judge, and Al-Hakim, the wise, grounding his grief in the perfection of divine justice. When Prophet Solomon asked for an unmatched kingdom, he didn't start with his request. He sought forgiveness first to purify his heart, then called upon Al-Wahhab, the bestower, the one who gives purely from his own nature without the recipient having to earn it. And when Prophet Zechariah faced old age without an heir, he didn't focus on his own frailty. He invoked Al-Warith, the inheritor, the one who remains the true owner of all things after every human life has faded away. These weren't random miracles. They were the results of men who knew exactly which aspect of the divine to call upon when the world felt like it was collapsing. When a believer internalizes these attributes, their response to hardship changes. A no to a prayer is no longer seen as a sign of neglect, but as the active protection of Al-Latif, the most gentle, who sees the harms we cannot. This internal growth follows 3 distinct stages. It begins with dependence. In our moments of rawest need, hunger, sickness, or loss, we connect to God as Rob, the sustainer. We acknowledge that we cannot exist for a second without His provision. But we cannot stay there, or we risk becoming entitled. The second stage is awe. We learn the names of majesty, like Al-Qahar, the subduer. This recognition installs a necessary discipline, ensuring our love is balanced by a deep respect for divine power. Finally, we reach intimacy. Through names like Al-Wadud, the loving, the initial fear of the Creator softens into a profound mutual bond. The servant no longer obeys out of a sense of duty, but out of a genuine desire for closeness. To stand upright, a believer must move through all three. You need the foundation of dependence, the discipline of awe, and the head of love. Without one, the entire structure of faith becomes unstable. This knowledge leads to a final realization. True worship is more than just a series of prayers. It is the active attempt to reflect the attributes of the Creator in our own character. To truly know God's mercy, you must be merciful to those around you. To understand His forgiveness, you must learn to conceal the faults of others. We become mirrors for the names we study. No matter the crisis, whether you feel lost, broken, or alone, there is a specific attribute of God waiting to be recognized. Every state of the human soul has a corresponding divine name that provides the solution. We chose to take on the trust of free will. It is a heavy burden, but we were never meant to carry it in the dark. By knowing His names, we transform that weight into a living, breathing relationship.